What's up guys, welcome to today's video. As promised, the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna get this Supra up in the air and figure out what the heck did I break when I went drag racing. It kind of instantly just got pushed in the trailer and didn't have time to diagnose it. It's also kind of tricky because you can't really see underneath a car and like nothing's broken to the point where you can just like wiggle an axle or anything. So I'm gonna throw it up in the air, and I don't know if I want it to be the diff more or if I want it to be the axles, because if it's axles then that means it's probably gonna be a while before I can get other ones, and then if it's the diff, well, it's gonna be expensive. Crazy how much sticks to these tires, huh? So I'm a little bit confused as to what's going on. You'll notice it doesn't appear that the axles are broken. Axle spins all the way through, no issues. If you can see in there too, it's actually spinning the drive shaft. Same deal with this one. I spin the wheel and it spins the drive shaft. But the question is there something broken between these? Like maybe I broke whatever sort of limited slip differential these come with, and that's why the car's freaking out? I guess I'll try starting it and see what happens. I don't really know what to do at this point. It seems like we don't have any load being able to be applied from the drive shaft to the rear axles. There's still a little bit of ability to spin, but it's clear that it's definitely something in the diff based on sound. And even when I'm holding a brake, you can still hear the drive shaft spinning, which makes sense as to why it would be a rear diff. It's one of those days where, since I don't really have much planned, it's very easy for me to just waste time at home. So I'm gonna force myself to go to the warehouse, even though I really don't have much to do there. There's a few things I kind of want to poke around with. And I did just want to go for a nice drive in the Porsche, since I don't drive this thing enough anymore. Except it started raining. Oh well, I guess. So the first thing we're gonna do at the shop is something that I've had for a while, but I just, for whatever reason, haven't gotten around to doing. So in the GT3 RS, for whatever reason, if you can tell, you sit up pretty straight in the car. Like there isn't any way to recline the seat. It's basically fixed other than going up and down and forward and back. And the issue is when you put a helmet on, your head isn't really able to go back, so it makes you sit even more upright, and it's very uncomfortable. And it kind of messes up your line of sight. So what I'm gonna do is pull this seat out and then show you guys a little mod that they make for these cars. That helps a lot with issue. And in case you're wondering, this is not the first time that I've taken one of these seats out of this car. I'm actually very proud of how clean I did the cage install on this. It's not often I get to seat up close with the seat out and get to admire it, but I think I'm gonna take off this black tape and this GoPro mount too, and then put some clear vinyl there so that way it doesn't look all ugly. Got this seat out, and together two of them cost more than most of the cars I own. It works out well that I have the seat out because I do need to fix this little bolster protector too that's coming undone. It just kind of tucks in and protects the bolster for when you're getting in and out. Playing stupid for a second, I was like, how do I get these bolts out? And then I realized they just have little plastic caps over them. Convenient. So this is all I really need access to, I think, are these. In case you're wondering, Porsche is cheap enough to where they don't have them on the other side, just on the one side. A little more involved than I thought. Basically I had to take out this top bolt so I'm able to leverage the seat up enough to access the back of these bolts since they're held in back with Allens. So then once I can get these off, I'm actually just going to be replacing these little brackets, and that'll give us what we need. Now all we replace this with is a slightly longer one. So this will go in between here, and it'll give the seat just a slight bit recline back. That's perfect for what we need. A lot of the GT3 guys run these that are a little bit taller or that do a lot of track days. They said it should be perfect, and I've had them forever, just haven't had time to put them in. It's not something I normally would do, but since this is going in a car that may go very, very fast on track, I am going to adhere to what the manufacturers do. Notice certain nuts have red thread locker and then certain ones have blue. So I've got some red and I've got some blue, and I'm just gonna do exactly how I pulled them out for peace of mind. It's like a whole different mood working on nice cars like the Porsche. Because instead of like rushing and messing stuff up and just kind of doing things ghetto, I actually took a lot of time to do it. So it feels like I've gotten nothing done, but I just want to be real careful because those seats can do a lot of damage with those rails, throwing them in the car and stuff. So that's all sorted. And we'll see if you can be able to tell based on just the camera shot of the new seating position. I guess the weird thing about it, that's like not the biggest, coolest thing for me, it raises the front up to get the back to go down a little bit. I wish the back could go lower because it kind of feels weird with my legs being a little bit higher. But it does certainly get the back a little bit more reclined and the head a little lower. For me, a lot more noticeable when I'm in the car. So now I have room for my helmet. My head will be level rather than down like this. Gets me a little bit lower, which is nice being tall. Like I said, it is a little bit weird having the front up so high because now I'm like knee and stuff. I feel like if you compare the front here to the front here, you can see how much lower it is based on this side. This seat is also all the way back though. A couple of videos back, I showed you guys some sweatshirts and merch, and I explained how I don't really like promoting merch that much because I don't want to annoy you guys, and y'all were really, really cool about it. And I was really happy to read a lot of the comments from you guys saying the clothing you got, you were pumped on and you really liked it. The quality was good and everything. Not only does that mean a lot to me, other people see that and it does have a good effect, so thank you. And since it's cold as heck right now, I thought I'd do a little product spotlight. So this is our infamous parka jacket. I was wearing one of these in an Instagram post recently. A bunch of people were like, yo, what kind of parka jacket is that? But the OGs know. We've been making these for 3 years now. They're dual layered, very warm, fits nice and long, so if you're tall like me, it works well. Very high quality, full custom. It's not just some blank we get. We literally give them all the sizings, all the specs, all the materials. We got fur. And you can even unzip the inside liner and it's a jacket of its own. So these jackets, every year you guys asked us to bring them back. And we do have some on the shelves right now, so I thought I'd let you guys know. And we also have them in black. The green's pretty rad, but if you're like me and you don't wear colors ever, black is the way to go. If you do go and order one of these jackets, there's gonna be a field for order comments. Write something funny about Schulman. And if you do, I'll have the guys throw in a jet tag for free, as well as a handful of stickers. Links in the description. Thanks for not hating me. Not the craziest stuff going on in today's video. Like I said, I've still got to pack. It's starting to get late. One more thing that I do want to get done so I can get a jump start for tomorrow, hoping to get this thing running, is finish the ignition stuff on this car. So pretty simple. I don't have any aftermarket coil packs or anything. All I got to do is put the proper plugs in, gap them, and then get the coil packs in. In regards to spark plugs, every car, every engine, ECU, tuner has a different preference. So usually your best bet, if you're going to get a car tuned, if you're putting new plugs in or you're turning the boost up, talk to your tuner, see what kind of plugs they want and see what gap they want. Having to change plugs at the dyno is a very, very common thing. And if you don't have to change plugs in the dyno, your tuner's gonna love you. For this car in this setup, we are going to be gapping them to 0.022, which isn't that far off from the gap that comes on these plugs. I don't remember if I mentioned, but in this car we're using the BKR7EIX. Now the thing is, if your gap is a little bit too big, you could potentially blow out spark at higher boost, so it is something that matters. Something you guys probably already know, but I'm still going to share with you. I was always terrified of stripping out the threads where the spark plugs go in. So in one scenario, I think it was on a 1J in the past, I didn't tighten the spark plugs enough because spark plugs, when you start to tighten them, they have a crush washer, so it feels like they're starting to get snug and it almost feels like they're stripping, but they're really getting more tight. I guess using a torque wrench would be the ideal thing to do, but just a reminder that if you do not tighten them down all the way, you could have issues, especially if water gets down in there, which did end up happening on that other one. So when you start tightening them, I always like to hold a wrench like really close to the inside just to know that I don't have that much torque on it, but like you'll feel it'll like kind of resist for a while, and then it'll start to get tough. For simplicity and just for time's sake, I am right now going to continue running the stock waste spark style coil packs. These actually aren't mine, these are Steven's. He lent them to me because mine are with my car in Texas, the brown car, so I have spares. And then I wanted to get this one running and I realized I didn't have another set of coil packs, so eventually I did order a brand new OEM set from Titan. These will definitely support, you know, I think this thing will make in the mid 500s, maybe even 600, and these will support that. But when they're 5+ years old, it can start to get questionable. So it can be kind of confusing trying to figure out which wires go where, but there's only real one way that makes sense. I think this one is aftermarket wires too, so it makes it a little more confusing. But I got them all in, plug them in, and then that means we're that much closer to starting. Got to be careful because these clips go bad real easy, so they're very, very fragile. The best part is to see what it looks like with the whole new cover set up. So good. I think what the coolest thing about the setup is, it is kind of a smaller turbo for the build. The G25 for 1J is definitely on the smaller side. The G25 660 that I have on this isn't like the 550 on my SR. It should make pretty good power, but the spool will be really good. For a street car, I might eventually want to go up to a bigger turbo, but the cool thing is how I've been building this car and how I've designed the build, it'd be relatively easy to just swap a different turbo on here since it is V-band. Very little modification would be needed for the downpipe. We've got fueling to support more than enough power than we need, and the clutch and trans that I have in this will support more than enough too. I did decide to put the V160 in this, so this has a twin turbo Supra trans, so I figured the 6-speed as a street car would be better, having a little bit taller final gear for cruising around, gas mileage stuff, and it also will handle a lot of power and a lot of abuse. I kind of want to play with this setup because if it works really well, I have enough 1J cars between Colorado, Japan, the Brown Chaser, the E36, that I could just pop this turbo off and replicate the same feeling in another car. So I'm excited to see what it feels like, and I'm hoping I can get this thing started tomorrow. It's kind of different, like having a car that I've driven for so long and having a different seating position with the same seat and everything kind of throws me off big time. Love this thing. Usually I'm about to miss my flight, so I don't know if I explained this, but I didn't go and decide to drive the JZX to Texas. I decided to start the trip there. So for this cross-country drift trip, a lot of people are starting in Texas, but a lot of people also drove from like California, from Colorado with their cars there. I chose to have Pat bring the car over because I kind of needed a weekend to chill out and stuff, and it has been really good. I've gotten caught up on things. So I'm flying in today. I'm excited, my car's already there. And somehow usually I'm like super last minute missing my flight, but I think because I wanted to plan on going to the warehouse so I could get the JZX started before I go, I'm running a little late to the warehouse, but not late to my flight. Life hacks. A lot of comments on that last drag video for some reason have been really getting to me, and one of them refers to how slow I was shifting. Yes, I wasn't like absolutely banging gears, and there's a couple of reasons why. One, I haven't made a pass in the car yet, and the last thing I want to do is blow up the gearbox by slamming a gear when it's unnecessary. Two, I think something that maybe you guys don't understand if you've only driven like, you know, a Civic or even if you just really haven't driven any built cars, when you start to play around with different clutches and you start to have different engine mounts and mixtures of things in places, some cars can be really tough to shift fast. So here's an example, the Mustang, right? This car is phenomenally designed and I can shift it very fast. Watch. Very easy, it unloads at high RPM, the shift is nice. The Z, for whatever reason, it loads up kind of weird. I don't know if it's a clutch thing or because I have, you know, very soft engine mounts and there's a lot of flex and twist and everything, but I can't bang gears in that car. Could be a shifter, I don't know, but you can feel when a transmission wants to shift and you can feel when it doesn't want to. And a great example of that, my R32, when I had the Z32 trans, hated shifting fast. If you did, it would blow up the trans. When I switched to a CD, it liked it a little bit more. So I kind of have to just find the right combo, and that clutch also kind of needs to go because I got it originally for doing 4th gear burnout so I could dump it without having any sort of slippage. And then the car kind of turned into more of a drag car, and it's definitely not an ideal clutch for what I've been using it for, so that's probably on the list of things I should change. All right, it's getting close to that time. We should have left 5 minutes ago, but I really want to hear this thing run, and I think it's about ready to start. Will it lope? Will it chop? Find out. Who knows if this tune's gonna work or not. Oh, I went to go check if it was in neutral, Alberto. Oh, yeah, all right, it's priming. Hey, it runs! I told you! It's not scaled perfectly for the injectors that we have in it right now, but... Oh, it's a cute little baby lope. Is it a lope or a misfire? I think it's a lope. It's lope? Yeah. I think it's basically, it thinks we have smaller injectors than we do, so it's probably flooded now. But that'll turn off the injectors, yeah? We can try it. How's the sound? Oh, it's rich, isn't it? It's so rich right now. All right, that's a good start. That means this thing should be very simple to get tuned. It just needs basically get a different drive shaft made, get the trans all situated, clutch situated, and this thing should be ready to rip. Great way to leave.
You happy with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's so quiet, you don't really hear the chop that much, but it's got a cute little baby lope.
Yeah, maybe we can lean it out a little bit and make it open, right?
I mean, it is real rich right now, so.
Yeah. So maybe with the tune, it can make it like lope a little bit more.
Yeah, so.
I hope it does.
This thing's gonna be wild, dude, with 600 horsepower. There's gonna be no traction. It's gonna be so fun. All right, so I have to go to the airport. I'm probably gonna miss my flight, but I will touch base with you guys in Texas, which will be the start of Drift Week, in case you aren't familiar. A bunch of us drifters are driving drift cars across the country from Texas to LA, so should be fun. And I got a little surprise for you that you'll see tomorrow. Later. Tomorrow.